Hello, my name is Phillip Day, and you're listening to Up Close and Personal for the Eclub bulletin dated November 2009. Firstly, Europe. In fact, globally, there's been a terrific development over the last week or so. Lord Christopher Monckton of Brenchley, who's a British politician, has been touring America, warning Americans and indeed other countries that the forthcoming Copenhagen conference on climate change is in fact a thinly veiled attempt to bring in, via the treaty, a type of world government based on the concerns of climate change. Number one, you'll see from the articles that we posted this month that the science supposedly behind CO2 warming has been completely settled, and anybody who's seen the Great Global Warming Swindle and done even a little bit of homework on this subject will see that this is nothing more than a massive socialist con to part us from billions of our wealth, and also individual companies are being beleaguered with a whole range of new legislation that is simply not in the real world. Monckton's view is that with all of the furor surrounding climate change right now, this seems to be an opportunity for countries, and most notably the leading polluters in the world like China and Russia and the USA and France and so on, to get together. But it's much more sinister than that, apparently. The particular interview that you're going to hear is from an Australian host, Alan Jones, interviewing Monckton. If you just Google up Lord Christopher Monckton and climate change or Christopher Monckton and Copenhagen, you can make up your own mind about that. The dangerous thing with treaties that we've seen with the European Union is that a treaty is not some cosy little arrangement between two countries. These are agreements wherein the terms of the treaty supersede the national considerations and even national laws of the signatory nations. And in something like Copenhagen, where you get a couple of dozen, if not more, people signing this treaty, then the only way you can get out of this treaty is with the permission of the other countries. And clearly, the more people that sign it, the harder that's going to be. Could Belgian Prime Minister be even worse than Tony Blair as European President? I told you last month that things are going to start to get weird. Now we've seen the Lisbon Treaty ratified. There's going to be a window now for these people to bring in global governance, and the European Union is, of course, a big plank in that. The danger of this, the real danger of this, is there are no checks and balances. The real danger of the European Union, if this were a democratic set up, I would be still concerned because of loss of national sovereignty. And why sovereignty is an important issue is because it's a check and balance system against totalitarian abuses. And when you've got something as big as the EU coming together with no democratic process at all, the MEPs are just fig leaves, they're just window dressing. This is a very dangerous setup, and it is a dictatorial arrangement by the back door, basically. And Tony Blair's up for the first governance. Could anything be worse than that? Yes, possibly the Belgian Prime Minister, for reasons that we get into in the article. Could your child be branded a racist next? Again, with all of this new legislation coming in, even kids that make unfortunate remarks in the playground as young as 2 or 3 years of age can be hauled off and reports put on the council databases, and it's all just terribly Big Brother, and it's not in the spirit to which we were used to at all. So things are shaping up on the global stage big time, and of course that's a rather interesting point of departure for looking at the medical side of this bulletin this month. We can expect to see the herbal directives cutting in now, and several other directives cutting in. We're going to get more information to you over the next 30 days on that. 10 ways to address your root causes of infertility naturally. Dr. McCullough's got a good section on that. Britain will starve without GM crops, says major report. Once again, the experts are saying, oh, natural crops aren't good enough. We've got to genetically modify them. And this is complete nonsense. Remember that if you have poor soils, you're going to grow sick crops. The reason the soils grow poor over a period of time is because you can't keep growing crops and pulling minerals out of the soils and not replacing them. The only minerals that go back in are generally NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, the bare minimum to germinate and to get crops to sprout up. So you keep pulling minerals out of these soils all day long and not putting them back, and you're going to get a problem. And so we have sick crops growing in sick soils, and sick crops get attacked by bugs. That's what bugs do. That's nature's cycle. And so rather than just repair the soils, which we can do, by the way, we've got all kinds of humic shale experiments going on around the world showing that you can actually, with crop spraying aircraft, spray these soils with a whole range of minerals and get a huge, even a 400% uptake, I read in one report, of crop yield just by repairing the soils. But no, that's not profitable to do that. So along come the agrochemical companies and they say, oh, just spray these sick crops with fungicides and pesticides and herbicides to kill all the bugs off and then harvest the crops. So, of course, humans then eat the sick crops. We get sick. We cook the crops as well. So we destroy the vitamin C content, enzyme content, wreck all the fats, destroy the proteins in these foods. We eat the sick crops. We get sick. And then rather than us feeding ourselves on healthy food, along come the medical industry and say, hey, we've got something for that, and start giving you drugs. So that's the cycle we're in. And everything else comes from that. All the illnesses that you see in the ABCs of disease and everything that we discuss week in, week out in the weekly health tips and monthly bulletins all comes down to what you put into your body. Green tea reduces risk of blood cancers by 42%. One of the most exciting things about these teas, like Himalayan Chai and things like that, is that they have a tremendous antioxidant potential. The black teas are not so great because they have been refined to a greater or lesser extent, but the green teas have a tremendous antioxidant benefit, and when we look at cultures like the Okinawans, pronounced longevity, very low levels of cancer, if traceable cancers at all, in some of these places in their indigenous states. This is what we see them doing, high antioxidant foods. Lots of raw foods going in, of course, with the Japanese cultures and Pacific Rim cultures. We're seeing a lot of sea vegetables and a lot of unpolluted fish being consumed at the same time. Chemicals used in plastics feminize the brains of little boys. This new research adds growing evidence to the body growing up that hormone-disrupting chemicals in thousands of household products are interfering with the development of children. Well, this is something that New Ways has been on about for years. New Ways to the Uninitiated is one company I support wholeheartedly for their stance on destructive toxins in chemicals that are used in personal care products and household items and so on, and are out there educating people actively in over 40 countries to do something about it. But be careful if you're raising kids. We're raising little Anna. We've got to be careful about the plastics that we use around her, because these can have problems, and especially for little boys. One doctor, Dr. Damien Downing, who I'm a big fan of, Damien Downing questions the need for vaccinations, especially the flu vaccinations. Good article there. Also out of the orthomolecular medicine site, orthomolecular.org, very good site to log on to. Swine flu, bird flu, why haven't you had your Black Death shot yet? And Andrew Saul argues the whole point about the worthlessness of vaccinations when we see what the credo is behind how politicians are trying to persuade the public to go for it. We've got a swine flu summary here. Did you know that Obama's daughters, the first daughters, have not been vaccinated against H1N1 apparently? This national emergency declaration by Obama could invoke a FEMA response to the pandemic. That's the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is a very, very powerful agency in the United States that has the ability to bring in a parallel government apparatus in the event of emergencies being declared. This is very, very dangerous and fascinating times we live in right now. How to be a swine flu vaccine zealot by Mike Adams. This is a good satire piece, so you can have a look at that. And